You've seen me rebuild the worst team in Scotland. You've seen me rebuild the worst team in Wales. Well, today we take a trip across the Irish Sea to rebuild Cobh Ramblers. They're a semi-professional club from County Cork that were founded in 1922 and currently play in the Irish First Division. Notable former Rams are former Manchester United captain and treble winner Roy Keane, former Manchester City player and Irish international Stephen Ireland, who came through the club's youth system, and Westlife singer Nicky Byrne, who all had a spell at the club during their youth. The club won the Irish football's second tier in 2007 with a record points tally, but was subsequently relegated the following season. However, after suffering relegation from the League of Ireland Premier Division, the Ramblers subsequently failed to obtain a licence for the First Division due to their financial constraints, so now compete in the Newstalk A Championship. That was Ireland's third tier. They gained promotion again in 2011 and have been in the First Division ever since. Our goal today is very simple: to take this team and make them the best team in Ireland and see what else we can do whilst we're on the way. We need a good tactic for this long journey ahead, so I'll be rocking GYR's Grogu version 2. This is how the team fits into the tactic for season 1, but I have a slight worry that our two best players, Claudio Osorio and Wilson Werru, are on loan at the club. Off the field, we will be trying to make as many improvements as possible with the facilities, but this is how they look at the start of the rebuild. In season 1, we have 3 competitions to worry about. We have the Munster Senior Cup, a regional competition that the Ramblers have won 5 times in their history, the FAI Cup, and of course the Irish First Division, where we will be predicted to finish in 8th, and the board are expecting me to attempt to avoid to finish bottom of the division. Lots of competitions to update you on, and we got to the final of the regional competition in the Munster Senior Cup final, where we took on Waterford but fell apart in the final, losing 3-0 without really threatening the opposition. In the league, we finished in 3rd place with 56 points, which saw us qualify for the promotion playoffs. It was Galway United up first in the semi-finals, and we were on the road first, and we jumped into a 2-1 lead thanks to goals from Jack Doherty and Jake Hegarty. But FM was being FM, and we conceded in the 86th and 93rd minutes to lose the first leg 3-2. However, the second leg at home was much more convincing, as we ran out comfortable 5-2 winners on the night with a brace from Osorio and goals from Doherty, Kervick and Stringer. This meant that we won the tie 7-5 on aggregate and qualified for the playoff final, where we would take on Waterford yet again. We were at home in the first leg, which finished 1-1, but the second leg was the Claudio Osorio show, as he netted twice in the second half to give us a 3-1 lead on the night. Ronan Coughlin pulled a goal back deep into injury time, but we secured a 4-3 aggregate win to enter the promotion relegation playoff game. This is a fixture where the team that wins the playoff from the division below plays the team in 9th in the division above. That's the one above the relegation zone, and in this season it was Shelbourne. This was a tightly contested game with lots on the line, but we managed to pick up the win thanks to Conor Drinnan's second half header. However, our season wasn't done there, because somehow we managed to make it all the way to the final of the FAI Cup. Our path to the final was pretty straightforward, as we beat Finn Harps 2-1 in the first round. It was St Patrick's Athletic in the second round, and we secured a 1-0 win. We renewed our rivalry with Waterford in the quarter-finals, but ran out 2 winners on the road. The semi-final presented Premier Division winners Dundalk, but our boys clearly wanted a cup run, as our 2 lone players Claudio Osorio and Wilson Werru fired us into the final. In the final, we took on Sligo Rovers and scored the only goal in the game, as Jack Doherty knocked the ball in the air for Conor Drinnan to head home. So promotion and the FA Cup in the first season, this is feeling a little bit too good to be true. Looking ahead to season 2, you can see we're overspending on our wage budget, so let's see how we can change things as we enter the Premier Division. The Irish seasons run from February to November, so transfers come in at really awkward times during the league season. We managed to pick up Miles Kenlock from Bala Town for 1.5k and Ofrad Zanzala on a free transfer, but we have 10 players agreed to join once their contracts in England come to an end. Kenlock and Zanzala come into the best 11, but Osario's loan expires in June, so we're going to have a hole in that attacking midfield spot. Competitions-wise, we return to the Irish Premier Division alongside the FAI Cup and the Munster Senior Cup. However, due to winning the Cup last season, we will also play in the Irish President's Cup to open the season. This is like the Community Shield, it's the league winner versus the Cup winner. And we will also enter the Europa Conference League, thanks to last season's Cup win as well. Looking at the season preview, we've given odds of 1,000 to 1 to win the league, so it looks like we're going to be up against it to stay in the division. Keith Ward gave Dundalk the lead from the spot before Pat Hoban added a second just before half-time in what was one of the most one-sided games I've ever seen. In our first season back in the top flight, we had one hell of a year, taking L's left, right and centre. However, thanks to a 7-game winning run near the start of the season, we were able to avoid the drop with 37 points to finish in 8th. Ultimately, survival was our goal here, and we did achieve that, but I'm hoping we can use this as a platform to really build on. In the other competitions, we were largely disappointing as we exited the Munster Cup pretty early. We won our first game against Fermoy before crashing out to lower league Waterford in extra time. The defence of the Irish Cup didn't go spectacularly either, as we beat Rockmount 8-1 before losing the second round 3-1 to Shelbourne. We also entered continental competition for the first time, but this was the biggest disappointment of the lot. We took part in the very first round of the competition and were drawn against Hibernians, a semi-professional side from Malta. The first leg was at home and we got off to a bad start, going 2-0 down early, but the team were able to battle back with goals from Cook and Zanzala. On the road for the second leg, the team completely fell apart and slumped to a 3-1 loss in a disappointing debut in continental competition. Ahead of Season 3, we managed to bring in 8 new faces, which hopefully allows us to improve on narrowly avoiding relegation like we did last season. Key additions are Danny van den Heuvel, a young Dutch keeper who really seems to be a huge improvement on what we had in between the sticks. Anthony Mancini joins us from Accrington Stanley to bolster our midfield options, and he looks like an incredibly well-rounded player, and he has fantastic determination. Then up front, we've added Enzo Balotelli following his release from Monaco, who gives us depth in 2 key areas of the pitch, in left wing and up front. Van den Heuvel and Mancini come straight into our best 11 for the season, but we still have some clear gaps that I was unable to fill, mainly at left back. Competitions-wise, we just have our domestic competitions to worry about this season, and it's just as well considering we have odds of 600 to 1 to win the league and are predicted to finish rock bottom. Because of the time of the year the Irish leagues run, there was some mid-season turnover as 7 players left the club for a total of 825k, and we managed to bring in 11 players for a total of 53k. Key additions was our new striker Mafumbi, who joined us from Nantes, Jack Morehouse, who joined us from Manchester United, and Cian Bracken, who joined us from Manchester City. I will say that even though we made over £800,000 in profit in the summer transfer window, we're still deep in debt, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Competitions-wise, we had a disappointing Munster Cup campaign as we lost 2-0 on the road to Cork City in the quarter-final stage. We actually somehow managed to do worse in the FAI Cup as well, as we were dumped out in the first round with a 1-0 loss to St Patrick's Athletic. But that's enough of the depressing news. Let's talk about how we did in the league. We performed much better in the league this season and actually managed to finish in 6th place with 12 wins, 10 draws and 14 losses throughout the season. Granted, we still finished with a negative goal difference, but not bad for a team that was predicted to finish stone dead last. All in all, a positive season, but there are still lots of work left to do. Moving into the next season, we have a marginal transfer budget of £6,500, but we do have around £5,000 a week in wage budget, which actually goes a really long way in Ireland. Ahead of the new season, we have 2 key players leave the club for substantial fees. Wide man Navid Nazeri departed for Spain as he joined FC Andorra for £205,000, and he was followed out of the door by Enzo Balotelli, who returned to France, joining AC Annecy for £325,000. Whilst we recruit more funds into the club, we barely spent anything bringing players in, opting to save it for the English summer window when contracts would be expiring. 2 of the players we did bring in on free transfers were former Birmingham City man Finlay Thorndike and Italian new-gen Darcio. I found this lad using my Wonder Kid Finder, which you can find pinned in the video resources section of my Discord server. Going into the season, and this is the team, and Darcio and Thorndike make us much better going forward, but this is probably the most balanced I've seen the team in this save thus far. Competition-wise, we're back in the same 3 competitions for Season 4, and in the league our odds have significantly improved, and we're predicted to finish in 4th with title odds of 16 to 1, and we've got our first player in the Media Dream 11 in Darcio. Before we discuss this season's performance, I have some additional transfers to discuss because 2 more players left our club for a total of £500,000. Midfielder Simone Bonavita departed for Rimini, a Serie C side, for £230,000, and defender Yannick Jadrup left for German side Weish. Incoming wise, we signed some squad players but managed to pick up new gen Ilian Krislin from Croatia on a free transfer, who looks great with 16 passing, which is perfect to play in central midfield. Competitions wise, let's kick things off with the Munster Senior Cup. We started in the quarterfinals where a Yannick Agora penalty saw us past Kerry. In the semi-finals, we got our own back on Cork City after last year's loss and scooped a 2-1 win, with Mafumbi getting a brace to book our place in the final. Waterford were the team standing in our way of lifting a trophy this season, but we were able to brush them aside with relative ease, ultimately winning the game 4-2 to lift the Munster Senior Cup. In the FAI Cup, we managed to progress through the first 2 rounds comfortably, beating Finn Harp 7-1 in the first round before sticking 9 goals past Cabinteely in the second round. However, we were put firmly back in our place in the quarterfinals by league winners Derry City. Both teams traded penalties before Georgie Kelly calmly slotted to see Derry pick up the 3-1 win, and our FAI Cup run had come to an end. In the league, we've been progressing nicely this season and actually finished the season in second, meaning we will qualify for next season's Europa Conference League. Derry ran away with the league, beating us by 12 points, but we do have the top goal scorer in the league, with Mafumbi and a player in the best average rating in terms of Morehouse. A return to continental competition means more money in the transfer and wage budget, but somehow we keep plummeting further and further into debt, with our overall balance now at a staggering minus £1.6 million. As we move into Season 5, I decided to take a gamble and wait until the English summer transfer window, so I've barely strengthened this squad. Roland Edowu was our only addition, joining from Waterford on a free transfer. Whereas we sold another player for a large fee for this level, as Anthony Mancini returned to France as he joined Toulouse for £450,000. Whilst this transfer gives us a little war chest to take into the summer window to sign free agents, we're still deep in debt with our overall balance. Ability and depth wise was slightly weaker than last season, but I'm playing the long game with the goal of improving over the summer. This is how we're looking competition wise, as we have the same domestic cups this season, but with the Europa Conference League qualifying to come later in the year. We have, however, already played in the President's Cup, as it was during pre-season, and we managed to pick up a huge win, beating last season's league winners 3-2, with Richard Taylor's 81st minute goal being the deciding factor. That result gave me hope looking at the pre-season odds, as we're predicted to finish in second behind Derry, who are comfortable odds-on favourites to secure the title for a 4th season in a row. Looking at the squad, we're definitely not deep in terms of numbers, but our quality level is pretty solid. Let's hope we don't get any large injuries. Guys, I have to tell you, I went massively shopping in this summer transfer window. We managed to pick up 11 players who really add some talent to our squad. Key additions are Anderson Gomez, who joined from Metz for $275k, and former Valencia youth prospect Ivan, who joined on a free transfer. As per usual, we had some outgoings, as Darcio departed to join Hertha Berlin for $500k, but he then returned on loan for the remainder of the season. Roland Edowu also departed the club, having only been here for 10 months, as he joined Derry City for $325k. And competitions wise, we've had a fantastic season. In the Munster Cup, we flew into the final, beating UCC 3-0 in the quarters before taking out Waterford 3-1 in the semi-finals. It was Treaty United in the final, and our boys continued their good form with goals from Wilderaz, Wilson Brown and Brecon saw us win back-to-back Munster Senior Cups. We had a great little run in the FAI Cup as well, again making it all the way to the final. Early round saw us beat Kerry 7-1, Shamrock Rovers 4-2 and UCD 4-0 before taking out Waterford in extra time in the semi-final. This set up a final match against Sligo Rovers, but the boys ultimately choked on the big stage at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Dean Gilroy was the man of the match for Sligo, scoring 4 goals in the game as we slumped to a disappointing 5-1 loss. League-wise, we had another productive season, but weren't able to gain any ground on Derry, who won the league yet again, this season by an impressive 14 points. Finishing in second does mean that we qualify for the Europa Conference League, which is where the real story is this season. In the first qualifying round, we took on FC Differdange from Luxembourg. This was a comfortable tie in the end, with us picking up a lovely 4-0 win on the road for our 29 travelling supporters, before winning the home leg 2-0 to progress into the next round. Up next was Dutch side FC Utrecht in the second qualifying round. We drew the game on the road first, as Finley Thorndike's goal was cancelled out by Lyndon Edhart. The second leg back in Ireland was a tight affair until Eman Carville scored in extra time to send us into the third qualifying round, where we would take on Kilyat from Kazakhstan. We travelled to Kazakhstan for the first leg, which ended 0-0, and we managed to squeak through at home with a 1-0 win thanks to a goal from a corner from Tom Wilson-Brown. This meant there was one team standing in between us qualifying for the Europa Conference League proper, and that was Hajduk Split from Croatia. This time we were at home first, and as we were massive underdogs, we pulled off a huge upset, running out 4-2 winners with Jack Morehouse running the show. And things continued in the second leg as Split scored early, but then had a man sent off, and we used our man advantage to win the game 2-1 on the night and win the tie 6-3 to qualify for the league phase of the Europa Conference League. The draw threw up some interesting names with teams I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but we managed to pick up 3 wins, which means we qualify for the knockout portion of the competition, which will feature in next season. A deep run in Europe allowed us to fix our finances, as we're now over £2 million in the black, with a sizable transfer budget and wage budget going into next season. The extra cash does mean that we can start improving the club's facilities, which really need a boost. Ahead of the new season, I spent some of that Europa Conference League cash to bring in some good additions to the team. We spent 325k bringing in Lee Kavanagh from Hull City to be our new rock at the back. Jakes Leon joined for dirt cheap as a youngster from Spain, but I feel he'll be a good flip for profit in a season or two. This is the team going into the season, but we do have a large amount of money in the bank to make some free agent signings during the summer transfer window. Competitions wise, we have the same domestic competitions as usual, and we're predicted to finish in second in the league yet again, but have managed to claw back some of the odds on Derry City at the top. As for the Europa Conference League, we pick up where we left off last season, as we have a knockout playoff fixture against Maccabi Haifa from Israel. Kicking things off, we will talk about the Conference League. We were on the road in the first leg as Din David scored early, but Aminia Sabi was able to equalise for us in the 90th minute. In the home leg, Anderson Gomez turned into prime Steven Gerrard with some glorious long-range strikes, as he completed an impressive hat-trick to see us run out 4-0 winners on the night and win the tie 5-1. I'm in proper nosebleed territory here, because a team from Ireland should have no reason being at this stage of the competition just yet. We then moved into the round of 16, where we came up against AZ Alkmaar from the Netherlands. Warren Caddy opened the scoring for us in the second half, but we quickly saw the goal cancelled out as AZ took a 2-1 lead back to Holland. In the second leg, the quality difference of the two sides really showed, as AZ managed to score 4 goals and run out comfortable 6-2 aggregate winners, meaning our heroic Conference League run comes to an end. But we'll be back in that later this season. Domestically, we progressed to the final of the Munster Cup with wins over Treaty United and Cork City before flopping the final, losing 3-0 to Waterford. However, in the FAI Cup, we had a much better showing. In the early rounds, we got our own back on Waterford, beating them in the first round before taking out Bray Wanderers on penalties in the second round. The quarterfinals threw up UCD, who we dispatched with a 2-1 win before knocking out Shelbourne in the semis with a 3-0 win, coming all in extra time. It was Derry City in the FAI Cup final, and we were able to get our name on the trophy thanks to goals from Charlie Jolly and Jack Morehouse. In the league, we continued to improve, picking up 25 wins throughout the season, but we were still pipped to the title by Derry City by just 1 point. Mid-season, we had lots of ins and outs, and we somehow managed to turn a £1 million profit on the season, as Ivan, Iman Carvo and Daniel Rose all left for large fees. We used those funds to pick up some stars from Italy in the free transfer market, as Marco Greco joined from AC Milan and Nicolo Turco joined from Juventus as their respective contracts ended. Back in the Europa Conference League for another season, as we managed to qualify for the league phase yet again. We managed to progress past Pontypridd from Wales, Mura from Slovenia, Fenerbahce from Turkey and Neftchi Baku from Azerbaijan. In the league phase, we've already played 4 games in which we've won 2 and lost 2, meaning we're currently sat in a playoff place with 2 games to go. Let's see how we get on at the start of next season. Going into the start of Season 7, and we have no transfers to update you on either in or out of the club, meaning this is how the team is looking going into the season. Competitions wise, we have a lot going on as we did make it into the Europa Conference League knockout stages, and we add the Irish President's Cup back into the schedule as last season's cup winners. League wise, the board are expecting us to win the title, but we're predicted to finish in second, but the odds are now much closer as we try to prevent Derry City winning a 6th title in a row. Mid-season transfer update, and yet another window passes with us turning a profit. Jakes Lyons, Amin Sabi and Ville Resden all depart the club for a combined total of over £400,000. Incoming, we've raided Premier League clubs as Stephen Brogdon joins from Arsenal, Kwame Tozer joined from Spurs, and Mika Hamilton joined from Rangers as 3 of the key highlights. The knockout stages of the Europa Conference League came before all of the new additions, so it's no surprise that we exited the competition at the hands of Ludogorets. We drew the game at home 0-0 before losing the game in Bulgaria, with Jack Morehouse receiving his marching orders early and Ludogorets showing their quality, winning the game and the tie 3-1. We opened the domestic season with the President's Cup as we took on last season's league winners Derry City, and we thumped them and managed to run out 3-0 winners, with former Juventus man Nicolo Turco bagging an impressive hat-trick. In the Munster Senior Cup, we were able to beat Cork City in extra time in the quarter-finals before beating Treaty United 3-1 in the semis to set up a final with Kerry. The lower league side stood no chance in the final, with us running out comfortable 3-1 winners without really getting out of second gear. However, our defence of the FAI Cup didn't go very well at all. We managed to beat UCC in the first round before losing 1-0 to UCD in the second round. In the league, we really put it together this season, picking up 29 wins throughout the season and finally won the Irish League title for the first time in the club's history with 91 points. This was largely down to our Italian duo doing the business. Nicolo Turco was the top goal scorer in the league with almost double the number of goals of Nzingo in second, and Marco Greco topped the assist charts with 15 assists. This league win actually means we will be in next season's Champions League qualifying campaign, which will be absolutely massive for the club and be some of the biggest fixtures that this team has ever seen. However, because we won the Irish Cup last season, we actually were in the Europa League this year. The Europa League qualifying path saw us take on FC Inter Turku from Finland in the second qualifying round. We were very impressive in the first leg, picking up a 4-1 win in Finland, with 4 different players getting on the score sheet. Back in Ireland for the second leg, and we played out a 2-2 draw, with Cian Ashford scoring both goals for us to see us progress 6-3 on aggregate. The next round threw up Molfeva from Hungary, who we managed to dominate in Ireland, beating them 3-0 with goals from Milaj, Morehouse and Joly. Away from home, the game was closer, but we had lots of goals as the game finished 3-3 on the night, meaning we actually qualified for the playoff round with a 6-3 aggregate win. This time, the team standing in our way of a league phase in the Europa League was Rosenborg from Norway. We snatched a lead in the tie away from home, with Charlie Jolly netting the only goal of the game in Norway before showing our quality at home as we ran out comfortable 4-0 winners with goals from Charlie Gray, Warren Caddy and a brace from Nicolo Turco. This meant we qualified for the Europa League phase, where we play Atalanta, Elche, Schalke, Besiktas, Riga, Sevilla, Celtic and Shakhtar. We managed to pick up wins against Schalke and Riga and have games remaining against Sevilla, Celtic and Shakhtar to see if we can make the knockouts, as we're currently sitting precariously in 24th in the league table with just 3 games remaining. After another hugely successful season, the finances are looking steady as we have over £500,000 in our transfer budget and £50,000 a week wiggle room in our wage budget to play with, but I feel we will wait until the free transfer season yet again. Business was effectively non-existent as no one left the club, but we did manage to add 2 players to our team on free transfers. Former Aston Villa youth prospect Aaron Ramsey joined to cover several key positions in our midfield as he looks to get his career back on track. And Eugen Cleverson joined from Brazilian lower league side Retro. Ramsey comes straight into our best 11 for the season, and I'm really happy with the depth and balance of this team. Competitions wise, we're going to have it all on this season as we even qualify for the knockout stages of the Europa League with back-to-back draws against Sevilla and Celtic before thumping Shakhtar 6-2. In the knockout stages, we will take on Italian side Atalanta to open our season, and we will have Champions League qualifying to come later in the year. Off the field, we're pushing to continue investment in the facilities through board requests, as the star ratings are starting to improve and look like a better tier of football club. In the mid-season transfer window, we were able to add some players to our team, the picks of the bunch being Aaron Hardishon, who joined from Norwich, and goalkeeper James Trafford joined following his contract ending with Manchester City. Our season kicked off with a bumper tie against Atalanta in the Europa League knockout stages, and we won the home leg despite Rasmus Højlund scoring in the opening minute of the game. The boys battled back to luckily win the game 5-3 with goals from Brogdon, Turco, Costa and Greco to take a lead to Italy for the second leg. The second leg was a tight affair until Kwame Toza received his second yellow card in 60 seconds to give away a penalty and see us reduced to 10 men. Roberto Piccoli saw his penalty saved, but the extra man was too much for us to cope with, as Atalanta scored 3 second half goals to win 3-0 on the night and win the tie 6-5. On home soil, we were able to win our third President's Cup in 4 seasons with a 2-1 win over Dundalk with Nicolo Turco giving us the win with 2 goals from the penalty spot. We secured another Munster Senior Cup in emphatic fashion as we demolished Mayfield 11-1 in the quarter-finals before knocking off Waterford 2-0 in the semi-finals. The final was a touch more lucky as Kerry winger Ronan Hale saw his penalty saved by Danny van den Heuvel before Nicolo Turco bagged late on to see us lift the trophy. Things went equally well in the FAI Cup. We knocked out UCD in the first round before easing past Kerry in the second round. We edged past Sligo Rovers in the quarter-finals before dispatching Dundalk in the semi-finals thanks to a hat-trick from Willie. Yes, I have a player called Willie. It was Derry City in the final in a repeat of the final from 2 seasons ago, and just like then, the Ramblers came out on top with goals from Morehouse and another one from Turco. League-wise, we were able to secure back-to-back titles, firmly cementing us as the best team in Ireland, replacing Derry at the top of the pile. Points-wise, it wasn't as clear as last season, but the Italian boys Turco and Greco went off, topping the goal-scoring and assisting charts respectively. By winning the league last season, that meant we advanced into the Champions League qualifying for the first time in this save. We entered in the second qualifying round of the competition, where we played Srpska Nikšić from Montenegro. They didn't provide a good test for us, and our Champions League debut was a roaring success. We won the first leg on the road 6-0 before continuing to dominate at home, winning the second leg 5-0 to see us progress with an 11-0 victory on aggregate. Molde were the opposition in the third qualifying round, and this was much more of a test. We were on the road again in the first leg and were handed a 2-0 defeat in the game that we really bossed from start to finish. Back home in Ireland, we were able to show our class, overturning the 2-goal deficit with goals from Greco, Cleverson and Turco. I was worried when the playoff opposition was drawn as we faced Croatian side Dinamo Zagreb. This time we were at home in the first leg, and I was worried after Cleverson's early goal was preceded by a brace from the team from Croatia to see us lose the first leg 2-1. We had it all to do on the road in the second leg, but the boys really turned up with goals from Cleverson, Greco and Morehouse secured us a 3-0 win on the night and a 4-2 win on aggregate. Because of that heroic performance, we entered the Champions League phase for the first time ever, where we drew Malmo, Villarreal, AC Milan, Napoli, Newcastle, Dinamo Butimi, Ajax and Nice, so we're now rubbing shoulders with Europe's elite. As things stand, we're in line for a knockout fixture as we sit in 21st in the table, but we only have 1 game left to play, with others having games in hand. So I've effectively taken this club from the bottom to the top of Ireland and put this team into the Champions League phase and picked up 13 trophies along the way. Cobh Ramblers, consider yourselves rebuilt.